I had to adapt because I needed to survive. I had to go on this journey of finding myself in order to survive my situations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 4 of the Courage to Identify podcast with me, your host, Sharon Angel. In episode 1 of this season, we are going to talk about identity in depth. What tools and tricks can I give you? What have I learned from my life and finding out who I am and who I want to be, where I want to go? So as I share that with you, hopefully you can find your identity as well. Let's get into this episode. So how do you find yourself, or why is it necessary to find yourself? A study from 2015 shows that 37% of teenagers have difficulty discovering their identity, and 95% feel inferior than others. A 2023 survey by CVS Health and Harris Poll found that 63% of 18 to 34-year-olds have difficulty finding sense of purpose or identity, possibly due to comparisons to others on social media. In every stage of life, all of us as humans, regardless of our background and regardless of our upbringing, we go through changes. So when we're in our 20s, when we're in our 30s and 40s, we might face changes like moving to a different country, moving to a different state, moving to somebody else's house, moving to coordinating with different families, having different friends, or going through career transitions, going through job transitions, going through life transitions. As these changes come to you, and on top of that, we have technological changes like AI, social media, digital media, and things that we have to adapt to. How do you know who you are? How do you know who to become? And how do you make right decisions that will influence your mood positively, your thoughts positively, and so on? So in my life, I had to immigrate twice. I was born and raised in India, and then I had to move to Canada and then to the US. But during those times, I needed to find out and kind of also go to war with myself to say what I like or do not like, when I don't know how to communicate what I like or do not like, when I don't know how to say yes or no to a certain thing, when I don't know how to pick right from wrong and differentiate good from bad. I had to dig deep and say, okay, I need to find myself. I need to know who I am so that these decisions will get easier by the year, by the week, by the season, and so on. And they definitely did. But I had to be honest with myself in knowing who I am and also going on this journey, as it could be daunting, it could be fearful, and it could be stressful as well. So I am here to encourage you in this fast-changing world, in this global world where things can change anytime by any force, any internal or external force. I am here to share with you, encourage you, go on this journey of finding yourself, and you will thank yourself later. So let's begin with, what is an identity crisis? Many teenagers, many youth, and even young adults face identity crisis. So identity crisis is also called as role confusion. When you are forced into an identity, or when you are forced into being told that you are this person, you have to be this person, then there are high chances that that person might rebel, they might experience unhappiness, and they might also become a negative version of who they should be. So you might see adults, or you might see people who have very negative thoughts or have negative behaviors, and also might have become bitter people over time. And possibly it could be because there are societal expectations, or they might have succumbed to a certain mold that they should have been, or a certain mold that somebody else told them to be. Yes, there is no one size fits all when it comes to identity. And it is crucial that everybody understands that. You cannot be just like another person, or you cannot be a certain person because somebody else told you to. So when you want to become your own person, when you want to be your whole self and be a unique individual, what do you do? So in this episode, I'm going to give you tools to help you find yourself, or help you find yourself in your life, in your career, relationships, things like that. But I'm also going to preface this with what happens when you don't find yourself. So let me list out certain things that happens when you do not know who you are. Number one, you question your character. You question traits that influence your self-perception. You question your purpose or passion in life. Not finding your identity forces you to alter your values or inclinations frequently to match your environment or relationship. You might have difficulty answering questions about yourself, and you might have difficulty trusting your ability to make decisions. So if you identified with any of these that I listed, then this episode is for you. If you're questioning any of these things in your life, or you just don't know who you are and you need to make a decision, then this episode is for you. So a little story time for you here. When I had to move to different countries, the move was not my choice. But still, when I moved to these countries, I had to adapt because I needed to survive. And I had no choice but to survive because going back was not an option. Restarting my life was also not an option. So whatever I had as a base or whatever was around me, I had to adapt to it. And I had to kind of go on this journey of finding myself in order to survive my situations. Now, the good thing about this journey was that I've always had a good group of people who have supported me, whether it is emotionally, mentally, in my career, in my life, spiritually, in different things. I've always had a good support system. I've always had a good base of people who I can constantly go back to vent or think through or even ask for advice. Now, as you go on this journey, you will also notice that you might have to break off a few relationships. You might have some difficult conversations, or you might have fights with different relationships, or in your career, in your job, even in your spiritual life, and even in your political views. You might face some difficult situations. And I want to encourage you at preface to say, having these fights or having these bitter feelings, having these negative feelings should not pause on this journey, because without these tough moments, you will not be able to successfully find yourself, fully find yourself as to who you are. So when these rifts happen, it's common. It's part of our human nature. It's part of our human life. Learn how to deal with it. Learn how to react so you can become a better person. So with that preface, with that note, I want to get into giving you the tools on how you can find yourself. You can go on this journey with me as you write down certain things, as I will break down certain things for life, certain tools for career. And in the upcoming episodes, I'm also going to talk to you about relationships, friendships, and your faith and belief systems. So I will also have on my website a few downloadable PDFs or downloadable documents where you can download them and journal or write or just scribble through things so you can think. And as you go on this journey, your thoughts and your feelings will solidify to help you find yourself. All right, let's get into some tools to help you find who you are in your life. So number one, the art of letting go. You have to embrace this art. Be prepared to let go of everything and everyone that is precious to you. So think of the comfortable, the familiar, and the norm. These might give you shelter. These might keep you in a place of comfort. And when I say the norm, it might be societal definitions of how a person should be at a certain age, for a certain gender, for someone who's coming from a certain background. There might be these norms. But when change comes knocking on your door, or when you have realized that you need to change and when you need to find out who you are, you might have to let go of the familiar, the comfortable, and the norm. So think of this as an adventure. And when you're going on an adventure, what is the first thing you do? You pack for your trip. You pack for your adventure. So in this trip or in this journey, what you will need is courage. What you will need is bravery. There might be so many things at odds and people's voices, new opportunities that are coming, distractions that are coming your way. But the main thing that will come your way is fear. And I will address this in the next point. But what you need on this journey is bravery. And you might also need wisdom and strength in order to complete this journey, because this journey will not be happening overnight for most people. It might be a journey that happens over many years, and even over your slip-ups and over your falls, you will have to come back to it. So one question that I want you to ask to master the art of letting go is, what do I have to let go of in order to begin this journey? So write down everything that is comfortable to you, everything that is of the norm, everything that is familiar, everyone who is familiar to you. So you can visually see what is right in front of you now, everything that you have, the positive and the negative, the lukewarm and the maybes and the middles. So everything that you see, everything that you have, everyone that you have in your life, write them down so you can visually see and then go on to the next step. Which brings me to point number 2, facing your fears. You will have to face your fears again and again and again. Your fears will just stare at you once, twice, 3 times, and every time you might have to overcome it until you come to the point to say, okay, this is a familiar fear. This is a fear that I know of, that I have to face, I have to come across. And that's where you can pull from your toolkit, your adventure kit, courage. This is where courage comes in to say, okay, this is a fear that I know that is coming to me, that I know that I have to face. Let me face it. So use your tool, courage. And at this point, I also want to encourage you, do not take this as being numb to pain. As we are taught in our culture and in our society, sometimes we just numb our negative feelings. For example, when it comes to fear, we might just say, okay, this is not happening to me. We might be in denial, or we might just go to bed. We might distract ourselves, go into doing other things in order to not feel that fear, not feel that pain. So in this journey, I'm going to constantly encourage you to feel whatever you're feeling so you can deal with it head on and find out who you are. And the question that I want you to ask yourself is, what are my fears? I want you to list down all of your fears, whether it is your career, people, institutions, anything from childhood, anything from the past, and even fears of the future. So break it down into past, present, future, and list out all the fears. And number 2, list out all the what ifs. What will happen if I lose this person? What will happen if I lose this place? What will happen if I step out of this comfort zone? List out everything that can happen, all your fears, your worries, your anxiety, the stress that is causing you by just asking this question. List it all down so you can see it and you can visualize everything that you're feeling. And the third question I want you to ask about fears is, what if you come back after your journey and all of these what ifs are not there? Then what will happen? That is also a fear that you have to face right at the beginning of when you go on this journey. And knowing that will be the fundamental, will be the core to going on this journey. Now, the third tool I want to give you is preparedness to fail. Be prepared to fail, because it will happen once, it will happen 3 times, it will happen 7 times, it will happen multiple times. And every single time you will have to pick yourself up, because nobody else is coming to save you. This is your journey. This is exclusive to you. You chose this adventure. You have to go on this journey. And I wish someone told me this, but to prep you, all of your fears will stare you in the face. All of your what ifs will stare you in the face. And every time you fail, you will want to go back to your comfort zone. You will want to go back to what the norm is or what society is saying, all of those external voices. You will want to go back to it. But I highly encourage you, do not be tempted. Do not distract yourself, but stay the course to say, okay, what is in my future? If I can embrace the present, what can I do with the future? I want you to constantly encourage yourself and say that you are doing this for yourself to become a better person, to become a better human, so you can have more confidence and realize your self-worth. So in this step of getting prepared to fail, I want you to ask this question of, how did I fail? Number 2, how many times did I fail? How did I react when I failed? And what should I do about these failures? Asking these questions will help you face these failures, will help you get up and say, okay, this happened to me now. Let me see what I did wrong. You have to constantly assess yourself to alter patterns, alter situations, alter cycles that you are putting yourself through so you can become a better human. So write these down. And every time you fail, go back to these questions and every time be descriptive. So the more you write down, you will have an epiphany of, oh, this is what I did. This is what I need to change. And I want to make a note here. When you are in this step of getting prepared to fail or face your failures, do not distract yourself. It is very easy to get tempted and go backwards, but in this step is where you have to be firm for yourself and say, I need to face these. So cry if you need to, call someone and talk to them if you need to, whatever meditation or prayer, whatever your spiritual tools are, use them. And you have to face this step because conquering this step of failure or the sense of failure is what is going to set you apart from all the others. Now, the next tool I want to give you is stop and do nothing. As easy as this sounds, this is the most difficult part in the process. So what does this mean? Stop and do nothing. You have to tune out all the noise, maybe get off of social media, maybe stop listening to advices, stop listening to anything that is bringing you perspective, anything that is molding or shaping your thought and feeling. You might have to tune those out. Sitting in silence is powerful. And in this generation, we do not do that enough. You will recognize the difference between being satisfied and being full. What is the difference between being satisfied and being full? I'll give you a very simple example of eating a full plate of food. So there's bread, there's carbs, there's protein, there's fruit, there's sour, whatever. Imagine a full plate of food, bunch of meals that you really like, and you've had all of them. So you will experience one of two things. One, you might be satisfied in the sense of, I had a little bit of everything. This meal satisfied my hunger. Or you'll be full in the sense of you ate so much that the food is up to your neck and you have all this food, but you don't feel satisfied because it was not an intake of what you needed. That is the difference between being satisfied and being full. You can constantly take in things, but it's never making you satisfied. But satisfaction is the goal. Even if you take a little bit, it has to be deep. It has to be wholesome, that it fills you up in order to say, this is enough, I've had enough, and I'm going to say no to everything else that is on the table. That is the power that sitting and doing nothing or quieting yourself will do to you. It will help you realize the difference between being satisfied and being full. We have so many distractions these days, and it is not good for us because those distractions will start shaping our thought patterns. When you know the difference between being satisfied and full, then your thought patterns will have more power or more volume than all of the noise that is out there. Your job is to cancel out all the noise so you can hear yourself and then make wise decisions or make concrete decisions for your yeses and your nos. In this step, patience is key because we've always been surrounded by noise. We've always been taught to absorb from external forces. But when it comes time to learning your own internal voice, your own internal thoughts, then you have to give yourself some grace and you have to be patient with yourself to understand who you are, what you want, which people are there while you're in this process and who are not there in this process. You have to take it all in so that you can deal with your feelings, you can deal with your thoughts, and then you can make healthy decisions as you go forward. So the question for this step, what is making you satisfied versus what is making you full? Okay, now I'm going to move on to the career section of things. So all of these tools were really helpful for me to find who I am in my personal life and my individual life, and helping to assess these tools or working through these steps have really helped me transition into my career and become solid as a human to say, this is what I want, this is what I know I want to do, this is where I want to go, and work hard in order to accomplish those goals, that vision, and that mission. So I'm going to transition and give you tools to empower yourself for your career. And these tools will be both internal and external. So I want you to also think about applying all of these life skills or all of these life tools that I gave you in order to help you find yourself in your career. Okay, so the first tool to help you find your path in your career is your circle of influence. At this point, after you've done some basic work, who are the people in your life? Your friends, your relationships, maybe you've moved, maybe you're in a different place right now, and people who are around you are completely different. So at this point, I want you to ask the question, who is my internal versus external influence? So I want you to write down people and voices and thoughts that are influencing you, good or bad. It doesn't have to be either, it can be all of them. So what this will do is start making you question the truth. What do you believe? How do things work? And there is a high possibility that you might go into a rabbit trail because of your curiosity. And I want to highly encourage you to explore your curiosity or give your curiosity a chance, because as you write down your influences and as you really begin to understand what the truth is for yourself, that is when you will start asking questions. Asking questions is a good thing because only then you will find answers. Encourage your curiosity because then your subconscious will start building up to say, in the core of who I am, at the very core of who I am, I know what I believe. I know what I will say yes to. I know what I want, what I don't want, where I want to be. Do I want to go back? Do I want to go forward? Subconsciously, when you know who you are at your deepest core, no one can shake you. And that's when confidence is built. As we humans are born, we are born free of belief. There is nothing that is taught to us. Our thought processes, we are not taught how to feel. We are not taught how to communicate. We learn that over time through our childhood, through our infancy, through our teenagers, through our adulthood. We learn that over time. And as we go through these experiences, some situations may have been negative experiences, or some may have been experiences that you just did not face, that you just pushed down and you did not deal with. So as you go older, these experiences are bound to come up. And at this point, I want you to ask yourself, or I want you to deal with three different things: unbecoming, being, and becoming. So think of this as a past, present, and future. So you have to deal with your past, but not live in the past. You have to live in the present and know what is exactly around you, what you have built, everything that you have today, right now. But you also have to unlearn certain experiences or unlearn certain patterns so you become a better human in the future. Now, you don't want to live in the future because that will cause anxiety, and you don't want to live in the past because that will cause sadness and depression. You want to live in the present, and that's when your subconscious plays a huge role as you take notes, as you face your fears, as you have courage, as you deal with certain things that are coming up, as you deal with life right now. Then you are being, you live fully and you don't exist. When you are in this process of being, as your subconscious is built, then you will know to let go of certain things in your past, heal from the past, and you will be ready for things that are coming in your future. Now, this tool is simple, but it is very effective when you're trying to find out who you are in your career, or when you want to find out what job you want to go into, what career path to take as you're transitioning. I want you to ask yourself, what did I want to be growing up? I want you to answer it without any thought, any influence, or any bias. So remove all of those things and then answer it immediately. What is the first profession, or what is the first career path, or what is the first job that came to your mind? And then you can ask your questions. Is this what I still want to be? Do I like this profession? Do I want to pursue it? And keep asking yourself questions in order to see if that's still what you want to do. Or if not, if there was a different career path that came to your mind, how can you pursue it? What are the things you need to do in order to follow it? Which brings me to my next tool, skill development. So in this generation, I believe that we need to have 2-income households, or maybe even 3-income households, as things are getting expensive, as we have big dreams, there is competition, as globalization advances, there are so many needs and wants that we might have. And in order to satisfy ourselves, we do need the money, or we do need the resources to support it. So I want you to ask yourself, do you want to go into a multiple job lifestyle, or do you want to have one job that supports everything that you need? And hopefully in latter years of your life, you can go and pursue your dream, having those, building up those resources right now. So answering the previous question or using the previous tool, what do you want to be? It will help you refine your skills better. So the first thing you have to ask is, do you have the skills in order to qualify for the job, in order to go on that career path that you wish to pursue? If you don't have those skills, then obviously you have to put in some work, put in some time to build those skills. And this is so important because we stop developing our skills after college, after a certain, after a degree, after a certain time in our life, we stop building our skills. But we have to keep building our skills for our career to be successful, regardless of what age we are. Also, if you want to know what strengths are complementary for your career, for your job, you can always Google and search for a Gallup strengths test online, or you can also Google for job interest test. And these tests will show you what skills you have, what skills you possess, where you have gaps, and what skills will be complementary to the career that you want. So I encourage you to take those tests online so it'll give you a better idea of what you want with your career. Now, when it comes to your career, pulling your network is so important. You have to identify who is in your network. And if there's a certain place that you want to be, like in promotions or a certain position when it comes to jobs, are there people that you can identify with to say, I want to be like that person, or I want to be in that position? So when you want to be in a certain position, it is very important to know what skills you need to possess. And that's where the previous tool comes in order to find your skills. And when you don't have the ability, or when you don't have the right people, who can you pull into your network in order to ask them questions like, okay, I want to be at a certain place. How do I do it? What do I need to do? You need to be open to asking these questions and open to building the skills, building yourself in your career in order to get to that place. One thing that you can do is asking people to mentor you, asking for mentorships or keeping mentorships in your network. Now, there are so many jobs or so many careers that are so nuanced that there is no pioneer, there's no leader, or even if there's a leader, they don't have the capacity to mentor other people. In that case, what do you do? If there's a person that you've identified that I want to be there, I want to be them in the next 10 years, then you can always contact them and say, this is what I've done. Will you guide me? Will you advise me? Or will you share some of your stories, some of your experiences on how you got there? So it doesn't have to be like a specific mentorship. It can always be just advice that you can build off of in order to get yourself to where you need to be. If there's a certain trajectory, career trajectory that you're going through, who is your checkmate? Asking this will be super helpful because there might be certain things that they are better at that you are not. So you can always refine yourself by looking at your competitors, or if there's something that you're better at, how do you use that strength and go ahead, move ahead in your career? Another thing that I want to talk about is hirability of self, hirability of your new self. As you've done all this work, as you've built your skills, you've built your network, you have the people, you have the resources in order to advance in your career, ask yourself this question. In order to get that job, or in order to be in that career path that you want, if you were the hiring manager, would you hire yourself? Are you capable? Are your motives, your instincts, and your goals in the right place? Are you just doing it for the money? Or are you just doing it for the sake of it? Or are you just doing it to go through the grain of things? Will you ever be lazy, and will you ever not do the things that are in your job description? Or are you intentional about that job? Are you intentional about that career path that you will provide results for your boss, for your client, for yourself in that career? Ask yourself this question. would you hire yourself? This will check so many of the boxes and keep you in the right place in order to not just have a job, not just have a one-time thing that pays the bills, but this will help you build your career and have a long-term career path than just short-term. Now, the last tool, but most important tool that I want to give you, which will be a foundation to all of the other episodes where I talk about finding your identity, is your base. Who are you? Now, as you go on this journey of finding yourself and really doing the work and really putting in the work to change or really putting in the work to develop yourself more, you have to make sure that your core is built. What is your base? What is your foundation? Now, one thing that is constantly said to us, or one thing that is constantly asked of us, is what is your purpose? What is your purpose? What is your purpose? What is your purpose? It is so great to say that this is my purpose. I want to do this because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you cannot serve your purpose without finding who you are. You cannot find your purpose without finding your identity. Only when you know who you are will you be able to give. And your giving, whether it is your time, your resource, yourself, whatever it is you're giving, will make an impact. So before you give, before you pour into others, your purpose is for your community. Your purpose is for others, but identity is for yourself. When your intentions are right, when you subconsciously know who you are, when all of your skills, your network, and your career, your lifestyle is built, then you will be able to give completely and not be burnt out. Burning out is so easy, and so many people in this generation are burnt out because they're giving, and they are not able to find that satisfaction in themselves. In order to be happy in giving, you have to be full. You have to 100% know who you are. So your vision, your mission, your goals are very important to be defined and pursued before you go into finding your purpose. Aligning your vision, your core values, and your mission is very important because these will define who you are as a person, and it will give you all the tools and ability to give back to community, and you won't be tired and you won't be burnt out. And when it comes to your core values, when it comes to building your values, building your truth, make sure you incorporate courage, authenticity, reliance, and peace. You have to be real. To yourself, at least, that is authenticity. You have to have the courage and be brave when fears come, when pains come, when temptations come. You have to have the courage in order to face all of them. You have to have reliance on yourself or core people who ground you. So when things are tough, you can pick yourself back up. And you also have to have peace while you're on this journey. You don't want to be disturbed. You don't want to be distracted. You don't want to do it for the sake of doing, just because another friend is doing or somebody told you to do this. You don't want to do it for that. At the end of the day, you must have peace that all the efforts that you're making are satisfactory and all the efforts that you're making are pushing you forward. So when you have that peace, no one can shake you because you are authentic, you are self-reliant, and you have the courage to face anyone and anything that comes at you. I hope you're able to find your identity with all of these tools that I mentioned. I definitely have been benefited by asking myself these questions, putting in the work, having the courage, and having the ability to just be in the present and deal with all of this. And I hope you are also able to give yourself this credit, give yourself this gift of knowing who you are, because it will do wonders for you. On my website, sharonangel.com, I will have all of these as a toolkit that you can download. You can print out how many ever you need, and you can use these as a worksheet as you go through life. And I believe these will really be helpful in order to find yourself. This is season 4 of the Courage to Identify podcast, and this was Finding Your Identity. I have more episodes on this topic, so continue to listen to them. If you want to know more about me, you can log on to sharonangel.com. And until then, this is the Courage to Identify podcast, and I will talk to you soon.